I live in a town called Huron Valley, tucked between long stretches of farmland and woods in Michigan. Quiet, uneventful, safe. That was the whole reason we moved here, honestly. My son, Tyler, is 9. Just old enough to start pulling away a little, getting into his own world, but still young enough to need his mom when the nightmares come. The Easter Fair is a big deal around here. They set it up in the middle school parking lot every spring, pop-up tents, rides, egg hunts in the field. It's not much, but for the kids, it's magic. Tyler was especially excited this year because he was going with his 2 best friends, Jacob and Ellie, without parents hovering for the first time. Just dropped them off, handed them some money, and let them roam. That night, nothing seemed off. He came home tired and sticky with cotton candy, talking a mile a minute about the weird magician guy doing tricks by the picnic tables, and how one of the rides got stuck midair. Normal stuff. I tucked him in around 9, kissed his forehead, turned on the fan like always. The next morning, I heard him call out. Not scared, more confused. I walked into his room, and he was sitting up in bed, his pajama shirt pushed up. "Mom, did you draw on me or something?" Draw on him? There was a bunny face on his stomach. Not inked or tattooed, just drawn in black marker. A round face, tall ears, big eyes, and a little stitched X where the mouth should have been. The style was childish, but weirdly precise. Not a doodle. It looked like someone had taken their time with it. I assumed it was some leftover fair prank. Maybe face painting gone weird, or he fell asleep and his friends did it. Tyler swore he had no idea when it happened. I laughed it off, told him to hop in the shower. But then Jacob's mom, Sarah, texted me that afternoon. Did Tyler wake up with a bunny on him? Jacob has the same thing. Freaking me out, LOL. I called her. We compared details. Same drawing. Same location, right over the belly. Same clueless reaction from her kid. Then Ellie's mom posted about it in the neighborhood Facebook group. That made 3. Other parents started chiming in. My daughter too. Same here. Is this a weird fair thing? The thread turned into a joke. The Easter vandal strikes again. But I remember sitting there with a heavy feeling in my chest. Like something had slipped past me in the night. I couldn't stop picturing someone in the dark, lifting my son's shirt while he slept. Not breaking in. Just already being there. 2 nights later, Jacob disappeared. Sarah posted something around 7 a.m. asking if anyone had seen him. He wasn't in his bed. Door locked. No signs of forced entry. His shoes were still by the door. Nothing taken. Just gone. Our neighborhood turned into a search grid. People walking through the woods, checking sheds, combing drainage ditches. Nothing. Cops couldn't find any prints, and they said the home security cam outside Jacob's house never picked up anyone coming or going after 10 p.m. 2 days later, Ellie vanished too. Same pattern. It was like the ground just opened up and took them. Tyler was the only one left of the 3. I barely slept. I dragged a dresser in front of his window, put a baby monitor in his room, even though he hated it. He stopped talking as much, kept his hoodie zipped up high. He'd started drawing things, which wasn't unusual, but they were always rabbits. Page after page. Dozens of them. All with that same stitched mouth. One morning, I was walking him out to the car for school and noticed a chalk mark on the sidewalk. It looked like a rabbit paw. Just one. The next day, there were 2. Then 4. Spaced apart, leading down the block, one after the other like footprints. I followed them out of curiosity. They were small, drawn in white and pink, but consistent. Like someone took time to make them perfect. They led all the way to the edge of the woods behind our neighborhood. I stood there for a while, staring at the tree line. There was nothing out of the ordinary, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had just ducked out of sight. That night, I let Tyler sleep in my bed. Somewhere around 2 a.m., I woke up to the shuffling noise. Soft, like movement against fabric. I sat up. Tyler wasn't in the bed. I panicked, ran down the hall, but the front door was still locked. I checked every room, heart pounding. I found him standing in the laundry room. He was facing the wall, just standing there, in the dark. His pajama shirt was pulled up again, and the bunny face was back. Redrawn, darker this time. I hadn't seen it since the first night. And this time, something new was added underneath it. 3 little X's in a row. I shook him, hard. "Tyler, what are you doing?" He blinked like he was waking up. Then he started crying. I called the police. They said it sounded like sleepwalking, and that I needed rest. I wasn't crazy. I knew I locked the house. I knew I checked the doors. The next morning, more chalk tracks. Not just on the sidewalk anymore, but up my own driveway. That's when I stopped calling the police. I grabbed a flashlight, waited until nightfall, and followed the tracks again. This time, all the way in. The woods behind our neighborhood aren't deep, but at night, they feel endless. The tracks went past the first row of trees, then another. I kept thinking I should turn back, but something pulled me forward, and then I saw them. Kids, maybe 10 of them, all in pajamas, barefoot, walking hand in hand, single file, deeper into the woods. Smiling, not speaking. At the front of the line, just barely visible in the dark, was something hopping. The sound was unmistakable. Thump, 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 like heavy cloth slapping the ground. I saw long ears, a head that jerked sideways, then froze. It wasn't a person in a costume. Or if it was, something was horribly wrong with the way it moved. Its proportions were wrong. Its head bobbed too loosely. It didn't walk, it bounced. I called out, screamed for Tyler. No one turned. I ran toward them, but my legs felt thick, slow, like I was wading through water. By the time I reached the spot where I saw them, they were gone. No footprints, no sounds, just trees and the quiet hum of wind through branches. When I got home, Tyler was in bed, sleeping like nothing happened, but his shirt was pulled up again. This time the bunny face was bigger, and the 3XS beneath it had become 4. It's been 2 days. Last night, there were 5. I don't know what happens when he gets to 6. I'm not letting him sleep tonight. I've bolted the doors. I've got a kitchen knife by the bed. I don't care if they think I'm crazy, because I know what I saw, and I know what's coming. Story 2. I work as a part-time librarian in a little place called Mill Creek, Missouri. It's a quiet town, the kind where everybody still waves at each other and the grocery store still writes prices by hand. I've lived here my whole life. My daughter, June, just turned 7 this spring. She's smart, sensitive, and sometimes too observant for her own good. Every year, the town holds a community-wide Easter hunt. It's not just for fun, it's a tradition. Big event. Picnic tables, sack races, egg tosses. But the real draw is the golden egg. Supposedly, there's only one hidden each year, and the kid who finds it gets a special prize basket donated by the local businesses. The rules are always the same. No adults allowed during the hunt. The kids line up along the roped-off trail near the woods. They're given empty baskets, and then at the bell, they run in and scatter. There are volunteers stationed along the perimeter to keep an eye out, but otherwise, the kids are left to explore on their own for about 20 minutes. It's never been a problem. This year, June didn't want to go. She clung to my waist and said she had a bad feeling. When I asked why, she just said, "I don't like the bunny this time." That stopped me cold, because, well, every year, someone dresses up in a giant bunny suit to take pictures with the kids and hype them up before the hunt. Usually it's the mayor or one of the firefighters. But this year, it wasn't announced who was playing the role. The costume was different too. Dingier, yellowed. The eyes were huge and glassy, like taxidermy. I remember thinking it looked more like something from an old roadside attraction than a town fair. I told June it was just someone being silly, that there was nothing to be scared of. She stared at the bunny across the field and said, "He's not smiling. He's showing teeth." When the whistle blew, June hesitated, but eventually joined the crowd of kids running into the woods. I stayed near the edge with the other parents, watching as little pastel shapes disappeared into the trees. The waiting is always a bit tense. It's a big area. The woods are mostly clear, but still, kids can trip, get lost. There are chaperones in there, but they don't intervene unless there's a problem. 15 minutes passed, then 20, then 30. Kids started to return, giggling, holding baskets full of eggs. But not all of them. A few more minutes ticked by. A volunteer made an announcement that the hunt was over and asked any remaining kids to start heading back. That's when one of the moms, Heather, started shouting her daughter's name, Lacey. Then another mom, Anna, realized her son, Mason, wasn't back either. And neither was June. Panic set in fast. Volunteers spread out. They swore they'd done a head count going in, but somehow missed 3. The woods aren't that deep, but there are offshoot trails, old dried-up creek beds, even a couple abandoned hunting blinds. People started yelling, fanning out in all directions. We found Mason first. He was standing by a tree, completely still. His hands were empty. His mouth was moving, but he wasn't making any sound, just whispering something we couldn't hear. His pupils were huge. He didn't respond when I asked where June was. We found Lacey a few minutes later, curled up in a shallow ditch, Eyes shut tight, arms over her head like she was hiding from something. Her hands were clenched around two halves of a plastic egg. Inside it was a little cloth scrap that looked like a piece of the bunny suit. But June, we didn't find her that day. Not that night either. For 3 more days, volunteers and police scoured the woods. Dogs were brought in. Helicopters. Nothing. Not even a shoe. Then, on the 4th day, just before dawn, I got a call. June was found sitting on our front porch. Not wandering back from the woods, not dropped off somewhere random. On our porch. Sitting cross-legged, her hands in her lap, a smile on her face. Her shoes were caked in mud, but she wasn't hurt. No bruises. No cuts. But she wouldn't talk. The only thing she had with her was a single plastic egg. It was cracked slightly, and inside was a Polaroid photo, blurry, dark. It showed what looked like a child-sized figure standing in the woods with the bunny suit draped behind it, the head resting crookedly on the shoulders, the arms sagging. I took it to the sheriff. They didn't know what to make of it. Over the next week, June slowly came back to herself, but she never answered any direct questions. She just started humming. Constantly. Always the same tune, the same melody that plays from the wind-up bunny toy she's had since she was a toddler. Then one morning, I found something odd in our backyard. Little mounds of dirt. Dozens of them. Each about the size of a fist. Spaced out in a perfect circle. At the center of the circle was her bunny toy. Sitting upright. Its eyes painted black. Later that week, we got word that Mason had started waking up at night, sleepwalking. He'd draw eggs over and over on his bedroom wall, all with crosses on them. Lacey's mother said she caught her daughter staring out the window whispering, "He's still hopping." We thought it was just trauma. Kids processing what happened. But 2 nights before the 1-year anniversary of the hunt, all 3 families got identical letters in the mail. No return address. Each envelope contained one photo, another Polaroid. This one showed the back of the bunny costume. It was hanging from a tree, arms stretched like a scarecrow. Underneath it, 3 figures in the dark. Small, holding hands. And across the bottom, written in a child's handwriting. One more turn next year. We never found out who was in the suit that day. No one ever came forward. The town canceled all future Easter events. But every spring, without fail, someone leaves an egg on our porch. Not a store-bought one. Hand-painted. Always with teeth. And every spring, June gets a little quieter. A little colder. Like something inside her is counting down. Story 3. I grew up in a little town in Pennsylvania called Fairhaven. You won't find it on most maps. It's one of those fading places with a diner that still serves chipped beef on toast and a volunteer fire department that doubles as the town hall. Every spring, like clockwork, we'd throw the annual Easter Jubilee in the old train yard. Egg hunts, hay rides, a petting zoo, the whole small town cliché. But what everyone really came for was the parade. Especially the finale, the Bunny March. The tradition went back decades. Local high school seniors would nominate one student to wear the old mascot suit, a big, faded rabbit costume named Sonny the Jubilee Bunny. The chosen kid would ride in the last float, wave at everyone, then do the golden egg reveal in front of the mayor's podium. It was goofy, harmless fun. At least, it used to be. The last Jubilee happened when I was 17. I remember it too clearly. That year, a kid named Marcus Bell was chosen to wear the Sonny costume. He was quiet, kind of awkward, and honestly didn't even want the job. But someone nominated him as a joke, and he got the most votes. We all laughed about it. He didn't. The day of the parade, the weather turned ugly, overcast, cold, wind pushing in from the east. Half the floats didn't even run. But Marcus still showed up in costume. I remember how weird he looked in it. The suit was too big on him, and the head wobbled when he moved. Still, he made it to the end. Got up on the platform. Started the speech. Then he collapsed. At first, people thought it was a stunt. But when they pulled the mask off, Marcus was pale. Mouth open. Eyes wide. Dead. Right there in the middle of Main Street. The coroner later said it was heart failure. Sudden. Possibly stress-induced. The Jubilee was shut down for good after that. And out of some misplaced sense of tradition, the town decided to bury Marcus in the Sonny costume. They said it was fitting. Honored the role. But even then, people whispered. Some swore the suit had a bad history. That a different kid wore it years earlier and had a breakdown afterward. One librarian claimed it originally came from a traveling circus that went bankrupt after a child disappeared during an egg hunt. I didn't believe any of it. At least, not until this year. I moved back to Fairhaven a few months ago. My mom's health is failing, and I didn't want her alone. The town's even quieter now. No more parades. No more hayrides. Just boarded windows and faded memories. But 3 weeks before Easter, something strange started happening. Little holes started appearing around town. At first, people thought it was just groundhogs. But these weren't burrows. They were too shallow. Perfectly round. Each one lined with old wood chips, like the kind they used to lay out in the egg hunt paths. They showed up near the school, outside the post office, even in my mom's backyard. Then the first one was found near the cemetery. Inside it was a cracked plastic egg, the kind we used to use for the hunts. Inside that egg, a clump of grayish-white fur. Matted, greasy, and one human tooth. The police shrugged it off. Probably some sick prank, they said. But that night, I drove out to the cemetery alone. I parked along the fence and walked toward Marcus Bell's grave. The clouds were low. The kind of night where the sky feels heavy. When I got to the grave, I stopped. There was another hole, right in front of the headstone. And the dirt? It was freshly turned. I don't know what came over me. I dropped to my knees and started digging with my hands. The soil was soft, looser than it should have been. I dug until my fingers hit something hard. Not a coffin, not wood, plastic. I cleared more dirt away. It was a crate, a big storage bin, the kind you'd find in someone's attic. My stomach flipped. When I pried the lid off, I found the sunny costume folded neatly, tucked inside. The fur was rotted. The face sagged, one of the ears half torn. It reeked of mildew and something worse. But the thing that made me stumble back? Taped to the inside of the lid was a photo. It showed Marcus, standing in what looked like a basement. No costume, just regular clothes. Holding a newspaper from 2005, the year he died. He looked older and terrified. I drove straight to the sheriff's office, shaking. They took the photo and the bin, told me to leave it to them. The next day, the sheriff said I must have been mistaken, that there was nothing in the grave but the casket. No crate, no photo. He suggested I talk to someone about stress. But I know what I saw. And now the holes have started appearing again. More eggs, more fur. 2 nights ago, someone left an egg on my porch. Inside it was a strip of fabric, white, with gold trim. I recognized it immediately. It was from the old parade float, the one Marcus had been riding on. But the worst part? This morning I woke up and found muddy footprints in the hallway, leading from the back door to my closet. Small ones, like a child's. And tucked under my pillow was another egg. This one had a photo inside. It was taken through a window, blurry, grainy, but it was me, sleeping, in my bed, and written in thick black marker across the bottom was a single sentence. You buried the wrong one. I don't know what's buried out there, but it isn't Marcus Bell.